His specialty is particle physics. He has chosen to represent the Latke this evening, being tired of the crumb-like particles he deals with daily in lab. His most recent publications include Hot Latkes for Cold Winter Nights, Things Fall Apart, Hamentashen topology changes upon insufficient corner pinching, Direct detection and destruction of dark matter, that is poppy seeds with space-based laser interferometers, Don't Panic, closed-string potato gratings in oils, space-times. Allan Adams.
I meant that.
This is a thrilling time to be a particle physicist. In the last 100 years, we've plumbed the depths of the atom, we've measured the age of the universe, we've seen the gossamer pillows of dark matter that lie beneath our galaxy and every other galaxy. We know the laws of quantum mechanics. We can use them to explain the structure of matter and to sculpt it, to create new materials and new phenomena, which the universe has quite simply never before seen. And yet one question, perhaps the greatest question, remains. Latke or Hamentashen? To settle this question once and for all, my colleagues and I have spent more than 20 years designing, building, testing, repairing, and waiting for the single greatest scientific experiment ever conceived, much less built. I'm speaking, of course, of the LHC. Deep under the feet of the Jura Mountains outside of Geneva, a 27-kilometer-long tunnel, my colleagues are, even now, operating this great experiment in which counter-rotating beams, one of Latke, one of Allan, are accelerated fabulously near the speed of light, and then collided deep inside massive detectors which track the resulting debris. Now, to be sure, there are compelling theoretical arguments on this topic that have been well studied, and the community has increasingly thrown its weight behind the burgeoning field of Latke theory. Like string theory before it, Latke theory postulates that the basic building blocks of matter are small, roughly one-dimensional objects with finite tension and a nice taste, which can end on submanifolds of spacetime known as d-Latke. Now, building all matter out of one-dimensional objects avoids many of the infinities which plague the more traditional theories of point particles, or, as they are increasingly known, Hamentashen. Indeed, it is by now well understood that the renormalized mass of a bare Hamentashen is infinite, so that at the center of every Hamentashen must lie a supermassive. By contrast, the d-Latke, supported by whittling one-dimensional strips, forms a remarkably light and fluffy structure, which is quite simply delicious to the imagination. All that said, it's important to keep in mind that physics is an experimental science, and theoretical taste can be biased. Experiment is the only true argument. To this end, physicists have spent many years addressing these questions at RULC, the relativistic Hamentashen-Latke collider. Here, I'd like to show you some early results from RULC. These are the data. Here you see the early results from the STAR collaboration. As you can see, the distribution of particles from the collision shows a variety of features which are well predicted by Latke theory. This is more obvious when I overlay the theoretical predictions of Latke theory on top of the data. Unfortunately, RULC was simply unable to study, some people pronounce this Rick, they think that's an I, terribly misguided. Unfortunately, RULC was simply unable to study these physics at sufficiently high energies to definitively confirm the predictions of Latke theory. So we have not yet been able to declare victory until today. It's with great pleasure that I now present to you for the first time recent data from the LHC. These data have not yet been made public. No one's ever seen them before. If asked by my colleagues, I will deny that I was even here. Seriously. We begin with a series of fixed target scattering experiments using heavy nuclei as a hard probe. For reasons which will soon become clear, it's easier to use lead nuclei than the gold nuclei which were used at Rook. Our first experiment involves a dense packet of lead nuclei incident upon a stationary Hamentashen. While it's not entirely obvious from a first glance, detailed analysis reveals that immediately after the collision, the exploding Hamentashen forms an almost perfect liquid whose viscosity is as low as allowed by the laws of quantum gravity, forming a so-called non-Hamentashen liquid. Next, we look at nuclei scattering off the D-line. Remarkably, these high-energy scatterings leave the Latke fundamentally unchanged, dumping considerable energy into the creation of a dust of new particles. Now, if we focus in on one of these new particles which is created, we find that we once again get more Latke. My collaborators and I take this as very compelling evidence for the fundamental nature of the Latke. Our third fixed target experiment involves lead nuclei incident on a bound state of a Latke and a Hamentashen. As you can see, the Hamentashen is completely destroyed, leaving the Latke completely unscathed. Friends and colleagues, it is now my great pleasure to show you the following never-before-seen data from individual Latke Hamentashen collisions at the Large Hadron Collider. At the Large Hamentashen. Collisions at this energy have never before been observed. Not even since the Big Bang, and quite simply, they have never taken place anywhere outside of this laboratory in the observed universe. Without further ado, the data.